Welcome to the 2021 Phenom NBA Mock Draft. I am your host, Matthew Lesnick, alongside my analyst partner, Jacob Leray. Tonight, we will have 5 drafters, each picking every 5 picks. We'll introduce them right now with the first pick, Richard Duma. The second pick, Sky Flanagan. Third pick, Izzy Tsai. Fourth pick, Zach Goldstein. And fifth pick, Marcus Dinsmore. All right, with introductions out of the way, Richard, you are on the clock. And the pick is in. All right, with the first pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA Mock Draft, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham, point guard, Oklahoma State. Now, Richard, it was an obvious pick, but sort of go into why you took him.
Well, obviously, the three prospects that really stick out to me is Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, and Jalen Suggs. But I picked Cade Cunningham because I feel like he can work the best with Killian Hayes, in that off-guard role. He's 6'8", he can play that shooting guard. He can score, make opportunities for himself. I feel like Hayes can be that playmaker for him, and Cade is a generational talent that I think will fit well on this team. All
right, now, Jacob, we'll go to you. What do you have on Cade?
Yeah, let's look at the strengths and weaknesses. First, strength, obviously his body. He's 6'8", 220 pounds, and has a 7-foot wingspan. It's obviously a huge advantage compared to other point guards in the NBA. Scoring-wise, he could be a lethal 3-level scorer. He has amazing shooting mechanics, and he's very good in isolation. And we look at his ball handling and passing. He might be the best playmaker in the draft. If we look at his weaknesses, he's very stagnant off the ball. He really doesn't move a lot off the ball. He's also not the greatest athlete in the world, despite having size. He's not the fastest. He struggled to get past college guards or guard some college guards. But if we look at his pro comparison, I have Luka Doncic. Both are guys that are bigger playmakers who can shoot the ball, but aren't the greatest athletes.
All right, great. Now we head to our second pick, Sky Flanagan picking for the Houston Rockets. All right, now with the second pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA Mock Draft, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Suggs, guard from Gonzaga. Now, Sky, why don't you go into that pick a little bit?
When you look at the Rockets, they need youth on their team that have good potential, and they already have Christian Wood coming back next year, young big man. So if you add in a young guard who can potentially get mentored by John Wall if they keep him, I think it could turn out very well for the Rockets.
All right, now Jacob, we head to you for analysis on Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, I like this pick a lot for Houston. Jalen Suggs right now for me, he's I believe he's number 4 on my big board, but I can easily see him getting picked in the top 3. For his strengths, he's a great playmaker. I said Cade is the best playmaker in the draft. Right behind him is Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs also is amazing at the rim. He converts 64% of his looks at the rim. He's also a natural athlete. I mean, you're talking about a guy that could have played college football at Ohio State as a quarterback. So he's a very talented athlete. He's also a very active and loud defender, puts a lot of pressure on the opposing player. But if you look at his weaknesses are pretty big. His ball handling game isn't the tightest. He is pretty loose, so NBA defenders might be able to steal it easily from him. And his shooting is a little inefficient. I'm not in love with his shot form, but I think that in the NBA, if he keeps on working on it, it will translate. My pro comparison is Drew Holiday. They're both amazing defenders, and I think they're both guys that could or are able to run an NBA offense.
All right, awesome. We then head to Izzy with the third pick, representing his Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, that pick is in. With the third pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA Mock Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Jonathan Kuminga from the G League Ignite team. All right, Izzy, sort of go into that pick.
If you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have great guards. They have Darius Garland. They have Colin Sexton. And what they lack is their wing play. Yes, they have Isaac Okoro, but they also need another dynamic guy who can slash to the rim and can get you a bucket at any time. And then that's Jonathan Kuminga. And that's what the Cleveland Cavaliers need to take another step in their rebuild.
All right, and Jacob, now we head to you.
Yeah, the first obvious strength with Kuminga is he's huge, like jacked. Like he's gonna be able to buy defenders right away. He's athletic wise, he's like an NBA veteran. He moves like an NBA veteran, which helps him a lot in his scoring game, especially in the paint. He has amazing post moves, and he's gonna be able to bully guys. He's also an amazing defender. This is where he really shines. He's gonna be able to guard 1 through 5, just because of his size and his length and his build. But weaknesses, he's not really much of a playmaker yet. Yeah, it's natural to find guys who are open, and it's natural to miss some guys. But his ball handling and playmaking don't really go together. His shooting is also scares me a little bit. He's not that reliable in the catch and shoot, which is a big red flag. But I think that he has a work ethic to improve that shot. And my comparison is a young Jaylen Brown. They're both guys that came into the league athletically gifted, and they're both seen as wing defenders. And I think that Kuminga can develop like Jaylen Brown into an all-star level player.
All right, some great points there. We now head to the 4th pick made by Zach Goldstein, who's got the Toronto Raptors up now. That pick is also in with the 4th pick of the 2021 Phenom NBA mock draft. The Toronto Raptors select Jalen Green, guard from the G League Ignite team. Now, another one of the top 5 guys. Zach, sort of go into why you picked him.
As Kyle Lowry ages and could possibly be traded, the guard depth on, especially at the 2 for the Raptors gets increasingly thin. Of course, you have Gary Trent, who has showed a lot of promise, but I think that Jalen Green's ceiling is quite high and could pair very nicely next to Fred VanVleet.
Nice. And Jacob, we head to you now.
Yeah, when I think of Jalen Green, I just think of a guy that's a pure slasher or a pure scorer. He definitely has hops. He can definitely get up at the rim. We've known this since he's been a sophomore in high school. Scoring-wise, he basically can score from anywhere in the court, whether that's mid-range, a 3, or finishing at the rim. His playmaking-wise, there's a lot of flashes in it. He's a pretty flashy player, but still needs to improve. But let's look at his biggest weakness, which is his defense. He's a very lazy defender. He gets blown by a lot. And then his rebounding will be fine in the league. But I do think that Jalen Green's going to come in and be a very good player, a Rookie of the Year candidate. He's second on my board. I'm higher in him than most other guys are. In my comparison, Zach LaVine, they're both natural and talented scorers who are top-tier athletes and struggle on the defensive end to an extent.
All right, now we head to our final top 5 pick made by Marcus Dinsmore. The Orlando Magic are now up. All right, and with the 5th pick, the Orlando Magic select Evan Mobley, center from USC. Now, the Magic already have 2 young centers. Marcus, why don't you explain this pick a little bit?
Simply at this point, the Magic are going through a rebuild. They got to go best available here. Evan Mobley, he's my number 2 player in the class. He is an incredibly talented center, and I think he can pair up well with kind of the young point guards and forwards we have there.
All right, now we head to Jacob for some analysis.
Yeah, Evan Mobley is the prototype center for the future. He's an offensively gifted player. He can score the ball. He has a very nice handle on the ball. He's a very good passer, especially in the post. He can be the PNR man as a roller or even as a ball handler. I think there's very few weaknesses in his game as a whole. He's going to come in and be a defensive monster. His block percentage was the highest in college basketball, and was higher than most great NBA rim protectors. But his biggest weakness is nothing really he can control. It's his size, and I mean, he's 7 foot, but he's only 215 pounds. He's going to get bullied. He's very skinny. I'm not sure how much he's going to bulk up. My NBA comparison for him is a Raptors Chris Bosh. They have a similar frame, even though Mobley's a little bit taller. They're both offensively gifted, but I think Mobley has a higher ceiling as a defender.
All right, now with the 6th pick on the clock, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that pick is already in. With the 6th pick of the 2021 NBA Phenom mock draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Scotty Barnes, forward from Florida State.
Uh,
Richard, go into this pick a little bit.
I feel like the Thunder already have good guard play. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading their team. I think their guard play came along nicely last year. They got Lou Dort as a solid, guard/wing player. I think Scotty Barnes fits well with them. He can be that defensive high motor guy for the Thunder. He can finish at the rim. He's great in the fast break. I think he's a good fit for the Thunder and what they're trying to do.
All right, great. Now the Golden State Warriors being picked by Sky Flanagan. That pick is in with the 7th pick. The Golden State Warriors select Josh Giddey from Australia. He's a guard. Sky, sort of go into that pick of your favorite team.
I know there were other guards that are more highly touted on the board, but I like Josh Giddey's fit with the Warriors. Defensively, he is an excellent perimeter defender. He does need to work on his three-point shooting, but when you're surrounded by Steph and Clay, that's going to be a pretty easy thing to pick up, I would assume, as long as he works towards it. And with the selection of James Wiseman, we already have a big man for the future. And Steph's getting up there in age. Clay's 31, so we need to find a guard who isn't the type that if you don't put him out there for 30 minutes a game his rookie year, it'll hurt him. But a guy that can sit and just learn for a couple of years and eventually be able to run the second team for the next few years until Steph's gone and then step up in a big way.
All right, now we'll go to Jacob. More on Josh Giddey, who might be considered a reach here.
Sky really hit the points on that. Yes, Giddey is really young. He's only 18 years old. He's only a year older than me, which is crazy. He's not an insane athlete, but he's pretty flexible. He has shown some flashes. Where Giddey shines is as a playmaker. He similar to LaMelo Ball. He's a very flashy playmaker. He's an ambidextrous passer. He has a very nice handle on the ball. He's also a pretty good defender. He's very active. He's willing to get on the floor and die for the ball. But his scoring isn't really anything special. But that's fine if he's next to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. But my pro comparison for Josh Giddey is Evan Turner. They're both point forwards that are pretty good playmakers and like Turner coming out of college, Giddey has a lot of potential to be a good scorer.
All right, now next pick is the 8th pick made by Izzy Tsai. Izzy, you got the Orlando Magic pick. Who's it going to be? All right, it's in. With the 8th pick in 2020 Phenom NBA mock draft, the Orlando Magic select James Bouknight, guard from UConn. Izzy, sort of go into this pick for the Magic.
Bouknight, probably one of the best shot creators in this draft. This is what the Magic need. They need a scoring punch. And, with the injury to Markelle Fultz, we don't know if he'll be the same. So Bouknight gives them a nice security blanket and can be their guard of the future. He's also a good defender, which, can obviously help the Magic on that side of the ball as well. So it's a great fit here for him.
All right, now we had Jacob for some analysis on James Bouknight.
Yeah, like Izzy said, Bouknight's an amazing shot creator. He's very good at the rim. He's a very nice floater game. Might have the best floater game in the draft. And Izzy also said his defense is on point. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. He showed a lot of flashes. He improved drastically from his freshman year to his sophomore year as a defender. I know scouts love that. But I do have some concerns with his ability to shoot, and also I believe that he does need to bulk up a little bit in the NBA because that could hurt him on defense. But my comparison for him is Alec Burks. I think Bouknight as 4 could be someone like Alec Burks, a guy who can come off the bench and hit a bunch of shots, score at least 15 points off the bench. But I could also see him being a star in this league.
All right, awesome. And now the Sacramento Kings are now on the clock, picked by Zach. Zach, who's it going to be? All right, with the 9th pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA mock draft, Sacramento Kings select Jalen Johnson, forward from Duke. All right, Zach, what's up with this pick?
So the Kings are in desperate need of a forward that can stay healthy. Obviously, they have Marvin Bagley, who hasn't been able to stay on the floor. And what you're getting in Jalen Johnson is a very versatile guard. He can score, he can defend, he can pass the ball, he can play all over the floor. And, even on limited shot attempts, he scores very, very efficiently. And I think that this the pick of Jalen Johnson fills a ton of holes that the Kings have and could really push them towards a bright future alongside De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton.
And now we go to Jacob for some more about Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I actually love this fit with the Sacramento Kings. Jalen Johnson plays a very fast pace. We all know De'Aaron Fox is a very fast player, but let's look into some strengths and weaknesses. His biggest strength is probably his defense and his rebounding. He can guard 1 through 5, and he's exceeded rebounding wise. He's also has shown a lot of flashes as a point forward. He's a great playmaker at his time at Duke. Scoring wise, he was able to bully guys and get past them and score at the basket. His shooting isn't the greatest, but I believe it could improve. He's also not the greatest in the PNR, but he's better as a roll man, which could cause some struggles as a ball handler, as a point forward. But his fast pace also might hurt him at times, just because he might get tired out so fast. But my pro comparison for him is Aaron Gordon. They're both energetic forwards with playmaking abilities, but I do think Gordon is a better shooter and is much more athletic. It's hard to find an exact comp for Jalen Johnson.
And now the 10th pick, New Orleans Pelicans, that pick being made by Makis, and that pick is in. And that pick will be Moses Moody, a guard from Arkansas. Makis, go into this pick a little more.
This pick's very simple. The Pelicans are in desperate need of, some shooting, any shooting at all. And I think that Moses Moody is a perfect 3-and-D wing in the modern NBA, and I think he will translate very well to this Pelicans.
And now Jacob, go into some more about Moses Moody.
Yeah, he is a phenomenal shooter. He might have been the best pure scorer in college basketball last season, averaging about 17 points per game while being pretty efficient. He also has athletic tools to succeed as a 3-and-D guy and maybe continue to go on to a two-way guy that can guard multiple positions. He's also pretty unselfish, but my biggest concerns with him are that he might not progress greatly as a defender. I think that at times it seems like he's a little iffy on the defensive end, but I do think he has a great potential to be a 3-and-D guy. My also concern with Moody is his ability to get to the rim. He does have a nice mid-range shot, but once he gets into the paint, he kind of stops and pauses and gets nervous. But I do like Moses Moody a lot. I loved watching him this year at Arkansas. My pro comparison for him is Mikal Bridges. We see how well Mikal Bridges is doing in the NBA as a 3-and-D guy. I think Moses Moody could be someone like that.
All right, and the next pick made by Richard is the Charlotte Hornets. Of the 11th pick, Charlotte Hornets select Keon Johnson, guard from Tennessee. Richard, sort of go into this pick as the Hornets seem to have a lot of young guards.
I think Keon Johnson actually reminds me a lot of Jalen Green without a three-point shot. And it is true that the Hornets do have some young guards, but what really sticks to me about this Hornets team is their energy. The energy that they play with. They got guys like PJ Washington, Miles Bridges over there at the forward spots. And I think the Hornets are a very well-rounded team, so you could honestly go with a guard or a forward here. So I decided to meet in the middle and get a guy that can play, the wing position, whether that be shooting guard or maybe as an undersized small forward. You can get to the basket. LaMelo Ball and him, I think, can work very well, as LaMelo is such a great playmaker. He can create opportunities for Keon Johnson to thrive and play well in Charlotte. And I think he fits well with the system they run and the kind of energetic feel that they have.
Great. And we go now to Jacob for some more on Keon.
Yeah, Keon is a next level athlete. He's already an NBA athlete, which I love. His biggest strength is Johnson's scoring game at the rim, which helps a lot from his athleticism. He's a great slasher. He's able to get to the rim very easily. He finished 60% of his shots at the rim. But sometimes there were bad shot attempts at the rim, he would force it sometimes, but most of his shots were good. He's also a pretty good defender because he has great size and length. He has very good instincts and reflexes. He's also has very nice balance. But my concerns with Johnson are as a shooter. He really didn't show any flashes as a shooter outside of shooting from the corner. And also his playmaking wasn't crazy. He had a pretty bad assist-to-turnover ratio in college. My comparison for him is a better version of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a guy that can be a strong defender in the league who can develop some sort of offensive game.
All right, and now we then move on to the 12th pick made by the San Antonio Spurs and Sky. So Sky, who's it going to be? All right, it's going to be a pick Richard will love a lot. With the 12th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Franz Wagner, forward from Michigan. So Sky, sort of go into this. This seems like a very Popovich pick. Sort of go into this pick.
That's exactly what I thought. You know, Corey Kispert's still on the board at the same position, but I feel like Kispert has a louder personality, which is something that Popovich doesn't like. But Wagner's game fits perfectly with him. He's a good playmaker. He has a great assist to turnover ratio in college. He's a good defender. He's well down low. He doesn't score much, but when you're looking to move the ball in and out like Pop does, it could be a very good match in San Antonio.
Definitely. And Jacob will go more in deep about Franz right now.
Yeah, Wagner is definitely a very versatile player. He's 6'9", has a 6'10" wingspan. He's also a very smart player, which helps him a lot on the defensive end. He's a great team defender. He's also able to acknowledge and recognize where sloppy passes or loose ball handling. He also has a nice offensive game. He's great off the PNR. He's great off the dribble, which I love. He has that one dribble pull up, which is virtually unstoppable in Michigan last year. My pro comparison for him is Gordon Hayward, a guy I watched a lot last year. They're both point forwards that have a nice shot off the dribble, and I think they can both guard multiple positions.
All right, and now Izzy's pick for the Indiana Pacers is already in. So with the 13th pick, the Indiana Pacers like Zaire Williams, forward from Stanford. Izzy, that seems about the right spot. What do you have about Zaire?
So the Pacers, they have some good guards. They have Malcolm Brogdon, they have Karis LeVert. So now they need a wing guy that can elevate both of their plays. And I believe Zaire Williams is that. He can get to the rim very easily. He's a very good splasher. He's a big wing. He can play defense. He has a good three-point shot. And I believe he could be more consistent than TJ Warren, who's still on the roster. So I definitely think he can develop more and be a high upside player for the Pacers in the future.
We talk about Zaire. He's a kind of a controversial prospect. Every year we get these guys in the draft that were insane in high school, but weren't as good as in college. But there's a lot of potential there, and that is the deal with Zaire. There's a lot of potential as a three-level scorer in the league. He showed a lot of flashes at the rim, but he was pretty inefficient as a scorer, which was pretty questionable. But he also had a lot of outside stuff with death in the family and COVID. He was also a pretty good passer and showed a lot of flashes, but sometimes his passes were telegraphed and his ball handling was a little bit sloppy. He's a pretty good on-ball defender. His length helps him a lot there. He doesn't offer a lot as a rim protector, though. My pro comparison for him is Cam Reddish. They're both long shot creators who came in or coming in as a raw type prospect.
All right, and Zach's pick for the Warriors now is already in. And with the 14th pick, the Golden State Warriors select Corey Kispert, forward from Gonzaga. Zach, sort of go into that and how he'll fit there.
I really think that Corey Kispert is the perfect player for the Warriors. He can light it up, always a threat to score, especially from three, and he fits perfectly alongside Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and allows them to have a little bit more flexibility on their bench. But offensively, he's the next Klay Thompson. He just does not miss, and I think that with a coach like Popovich and obviously Steph and Klay still there, that there's no reason that Kispert should not go to the Warriors if he's there.
High praise calling the next Klay. Jacob, do you agree?
I mean, I usually don't love the older players, but if we talk about Kispert he's an amazing shooter, probably the best shooter in the draft. He's also a pretty smart player and has showed a lot of hustle. I really like Kispert as a guy that can contribute right away, which is a guy the Warriors need. I think that he can be great with the Warriors just because he's such a good shooter. He's a pretty good team defender. My pro comparison for him is Aaron Nesmith or Cam Johnson, both younger guys that were taken into the lottery as shooters in recent years.
All right, and now the next pick will be the Washington Wizards, made by Marcus. So Marcus, the pick is in. With the 15th pick, the Washington Wizards select Trey Mann, point guard from Florida. Now they've got Russell Westbrook. What went into this pick?
Trey Mann, strikes me as a combo guard. He works really well in an offense. Will work really well in an offense that allows two ball handlers. I've seen a lot of craftiness from him off the ball, and I think that's really what's going to help them, especially if they're moving on from Bradley Beal later in the offense.
And now, Jacob, what do you think of this pick?
Yeah, I like Trey Mann a lot more than most people do. There's a lot of controversy around these mid first round guards. I probably like Mann the best. I think Trey Mann has a lot of potential as a two-way guard. He had a lot. He has an amazing floater. He's great in the PNR. He's a great shooter. He has excellent mechanics. He's also a pretty good playmaker. But there is a lot of inconsistency at times. He has a nice handle on the ball. He's a pretty deep bag. He also has, he's like I said, he could be a very good two-way force in the league. So his defense is already there. My comparison is probably Kobe White. They're fast and taller guys who finish at the rim pretty well, but they do have some questions as from like a motor standpoint.
All right. And now the Oklahoma City pick, Richard has already submitted the pick. With the 16th pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA mock draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Alperen Sengun, a center from Turkey. Now, this is, to a lot of the audience, going to be a relatively unknown pick. Richard, go. What is this pick?
Now, this guy, he's a traditional center from Turkey, which is probably why most of the audience doesn't know what he is since he's a foreign player, but he was very impressive overseas. And I understand that selecting an overseas players are really hit or miss, but with the Thunder, earlier I picked for the Thunder, I addressed their power forward position with Scotty Barnes. They already have Lou Dort in their guard play is great, which I mentioned earlier. I think what the Thunder need now is a center, and I think he's the best center available. And in a lot of mock drafts, he's pretty high up around this position, and I think he'd be a good fit for the Thunder. He can play that traditional center role and kind of hold it down while the playmakers around him can provide the offense, and he could sit there and he could do his role, which you may say, hey, not take a role player this time. But I think he can do it so well that he's worth taking since he's the best player, arguably, at his position, which they could trade down, but I think this is a player that they could definitely take.
All right, and Jacob, what do you think of this foreign player?
Yeah, Alperen Sengun, he really shines in the paint. He's an excellent interior scorer and an excellent rebounder. He also has amazing post moves, which I like a lot. But outside of his interior game, there's not really a lot to love. He's not a great passer outside of the paint. He's not really he's not a good shooter really. His defense also is pretty questionable, especially for being a 6'10" center. But my pro comparison for him is Enes Kanter. They're both very dominant in the paint. They're both very talented rebounders. And I guess they're both from Turkey, so.
All right, and as Richard snipes that pick from Sky, who's it going to be? All right, and the pick is in. With the 17th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Filip Petrusev, center from Serbia. Now, Sky, obviously one of the foreign center. Go into this pick.
When looking at Petrusev, he's a lot like Valanciunas. And if you're a young team like the Grizzlies are building, the worst thing you can have is high contracts. That means Justice Winslow and Jonas Valanciunas both getting a combined almost $30 million is a problem. So if you can afford to let one of them go by bringing in a guy that plays a lot like him, he brings a three-point energy, he scores, he could work well as an inside-out option with Ja Morant, and he can play nicely aside of Jackson Jr. I could see it being a very good pick, even though it may be a little bit of reach. I think it still could be a great pick for the Grizzlies. All
right, Jacob, you agree?
Yeah, I think this might be a little bit of a reach. I really have him as a second-round guy right now. But if we talk about his game, he's a decent shooter. I'm not gonna lie. Earlier this year when he was in the Euros, I really didn't like him at all. But he's kind of grown as me as a prospect. He's a younger guy, like most of these European guys are. But he really struggles on the defensive end. He's not really a shot blocker, and he really can't guard guys in the perimeter. My comparison for him is Mike Muscala. They're both kind of stretch forward guys. They're both decent rebounders.
All right, and now we head to OKC's third pick of the night, made by Izzy. Izzy, who's it going to be? All right, now with the 18th pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA mock draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Davion Mitchell, guard from Baylor. Now, it seems like he might have fallen a little bit. Izzy, were you happy to get him here?
Very happy here. This would be a great pick for Oklahoma City. They need another guy with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the backcourt. Davion Mitchell, dynamic ball handler, great shot creator, probably the best handle in the class. I feel like he and Shea would fit really, really well and be a very explosive and high-scoring backcourt, which is what you would need in today's NBA to succeed. That's a big factor. So I definitely think he's a great fit there. And even though they just traded for Kemba Walker, we all know he's not playing a game for them. So Davion is the pick for Oklahoma City here.
All right, and Jacob, we'll go into one of the March Madness heroes now.
Yeah, you could say Mitchell had an amazing March Madness. Mitchell really could shine as a 3-and-D point guard where there's not that many of them in today's NBA. He's a very efficient scorer. His three-point shooting improved drastically from he was a fifth-year senior, but from the season before to his fifth year as a senior, improved a lot. He's also above average ball handler. He's very fast. He's built well for only a 6'2" point guard. He puts a lot of pressure on opposing players. He has a very high motor. He likes to bark. And for that, my comparison is Patrick Beverley. They're both strong defenders who can shoot the three ball.
All right, and now we head to Zach, picking for his favorite team, the New York Knicks. Zach, what are the Knicks going to add? All right, and with the 19th pick, the New York Knicks select Sharif Cooper, guard from Auburn. Zach, tell us more about Sharif and the pick.
I think Sharif Cooper is a great player, very creative, and able to make a ton of passes all over the floor. Obviously, had a great season, not just with the passing. That's kind of a dual threat for him, along with his scoring ability, albeit somewhat quite inefficient. I think that taking a guy like Cooper makes sense here. He gives, as I mentioned, the scoring at the point guard that the Knicks desperately lacked, as Emmanuel Quickly, who is a great player, but he's a little too raw at this point. Cooper can come in and make a quick impact scoring and really just take over Elfrid Payton's role, and gets a ton of mentorship from Derrick Rose in that locker.
All right, now Jacob, what do you think about the guard from Auburn?
Yeah, Sharif Cooper is an insane passer. He averaged 8.1 assists in college basketball, number 1 in the nation, which is crazy. Oh, no, number 2 in the nation, sorry. But number 1 amongst Power 5 conferences. Sharif Cooper he's a very, very fast player. He averaged 20 points per game, even though there's a lot of concerns with his scoring. He's not a great shooter. He has questionable mechanics. Defensively, he struggled a little bit, but he was able to be a decent rebounder. My comparison, I know Zach's probably going to hate this comparison, but I had to choose Elfrid Payton, a guy that can eventually become a triple-double threat in the NBA, and is pretty, I like Sharif Cooper.
All right, now we head to Marcus for the Hawks pick. All right, with the 20th pick, the Atlanta Hawks select Usman Garuba, a forward from Real Madrid. Marcus, go more into this pick now.
So Garuba, he's not a great defensive player, but not a great offensive player. He's a great defensive player. He's a great athlete, and I think with the Hawks potentially moving on from John Collins, I think that he will fit in well for them.
Jacob, do you agree?
I mean, I think Garuba's fit with the Hawks will be questionable just because they have Capella, Onyeka, and I think they'll keep Collins. But if we talk about Garuba, he's a very high-energy guy. He's a great rebounder. But he's a pretty raw athlete. He hasn't been playing basketball for a while. There's a lot of times where he looked like really sloppy, like he couldn't handle the ball. He missed some easy rebounds. His IQ wasn't all there. But his high energy and his defensive upside makes me think of Bismack Biyombo.
Yeah, and now we head to Richard with the Knicks' second pick. All right, and with 21st pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA mock draft, the New York Knicks select Chris Duarte, guard from Oregon. Richard, this seems like a pretty good pick here. Go more in deep.
The Knicks just 2 picks ago just got a point guard, and I think this was the good draft strategy. You know, you already have Randall, you have a good front court already, and you needed that guard / small wing play. Just got the point guard, and now you get your shooting, which you need with the Knicks and Chris Duarte. You have your defense down, you know, arguably the best defensive team in the NBA this season. And now you get a shooter to that perimeter shooting. You know, if RJ Barrett gets even better, and I think he's just a good fit on the Knicks, and he can help space out that offense.
Yeah, and now we had the Jacob for more about a guy who seems to be rising in the draft.
Yeah, Duarte's stock is definitely going up, despite him being older. You know, we usually have these older guys that go in like the late first or mid to late first that usually have a pretty good rookie year. I could definitely see Duarte becoming something like that. He's a pretty strong shooter. He's a pretty good on-ball defender. But, you know, his playmaking is pretty subpar. He's inaccurate, especially in the pick and roll. But my pro comparison for him is Gary Trent Jr. And then his fit on the Knicks, I think he can easily replace Reggie Bullock.
All right, and now we're heading to Sky for the Lakers pick. And with the 22nd pick, the Los Angeles Lakers select Terrence Shannon Jr., a guard from Texas Tech. Yeah, Sky, go more into that.
So I really wanted Duarte last pick, but Richard stole another one of my picks. I wanted a tall guard who can slide into a forward and help out relieve some of the stress from LeBron as he gets older, who is constantly switching between playing with playing as an on-ball guard and more of a small forward, kind of stretch 3 type player. And I think the same could be said about Shannon. Obviously, I'm not comparing the two, but he doesn't turn the ball over much. He rebounds well, and he plays good defense. And I think that's a lot of what the Lakers were missing during their first round bounce of their first playoff since the Mickey Mouse Championship.
All right. On that note, Jacob, what do you have about Terrence Shannon?
Yeah, he's another guy that I'd probably project to be in the early second round. I think a lot of teams really like him. A lot of teams like his potential as an inside scorer and as a three-point shooter. He's a very athletic guy. He's also a pretty good defender, like Sky said. But my biggest concern is ball handling, playmaking, which is pretty crucial as a slashing wing. I think he can turn into someone like Kelly Oubre Jr., a guy that can both be a threat inside and as a shooter.
All right, now we head to Izzy for the first of Houston's back-to-back picks. And with the first of the picks, the 23rd pick, the Houston Rockets select Kai Jones, a forward from Texas. Izzy, obviously Rockets, a very big rebuilding team. Go more into the pick.
So the Rockets really needed to shore up that front court with Christian Wood, and they just took Jalen Suggs earlier. I really like Kai Jones. He's a good fit for them. You know, he's a good rim runner for the Rockets. He'll hustle. He's a good rim protector. He can also shoot the 3 well. He shot 38% from 3 last season. So, you know, spacing shouldn't be an issue with him and Christian Wood. So I think they'll be able to complement each other really, really well. And now that you have Suggs and Kevin Porter Jr., probably one of the best young backcourts in the NBA, if, you know, they can hit their potential. And then you add that with Wood and Jones. I really think this is a great fit for Houston.
All right, now Jacob, why don't you add on to that?
Yeah, the Big 12 Sixth Man of the Year was no slouch at Texas this year. He was a huge for them. He was like Izzy said, he was an amazing rim runner. He has a very good vertical. He showed a lot of potential as a three-point shooter, as a pick and pop guy, which I really like. I think he could be very mobile on defense. But my biggest concern with him is that his decision making isn't the greatest. He tends to pass a lot even when he has open looks. He also isn't that good in the post, which is it's a big problem for a big man. But my pro comparison for him is another Texas big, Jackson Hayes, both rim runners that can run and dunk the ball and play good defense inside.
Another guy from Texas. And now we head to Zach for the second of the Rockets back-to-back picks, in which the pick is in. Of 24th pick, the Houston Rockets like Johnny Juzang, from a guard from UCLA, another one of the March Madness heroes. Zach, go into it.
Yeah, he was definitely a March Madness hero. Led that UCLA team on their Cinderella run. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't win. But Johnny Juzang had an amazing March Madness. He's an incredible talent who has a great ability to score, and also he has a lot of leadership tools. Something that could be really lacking as John Wall gets older and eventually gets moved or retires. And Johnny Juzang can step right in. Can play at the wing, play with whatever guard they decide to draft. If it's Jalen Suggs or whoever it may be, pair with other guys like Jason Tate, Christian Wood, and I think it's a good fit.
All right, and now Jacob, what do you think of the guy who led UCLA to the Final Four?
I actually love this pick in Houston. I think that he's a perfect guy to develop. I think that as a scorer, he has immense potential. Already, he's an amazing three-point shooter, but obviously there's a lot of concerns in defensive end. He's not a strong defender whatsoever. But I think right away he's going to come in and be a really good three-point shooter, impress a lot of people, and I think he'll be part of the Rockets' long-term plans. My comparison for him is Duncan Robinson. I think that Juzang will eventually become a two-guard in the league. Even though he's right now listed as 3-guard, I think he'll become like Duncan Robinson, a bigger 2-guard that can shoot.
All right, and now we head to the Los Angeles Clippers, the pick will be made by Marcus. Marcus, who's it going to be? And with the 25th pick in the 2021 Phenom NBA mock draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Ariel Hukporti, a center from Germany. Now, Marcus, another international center going off the board now. What do you know about this guy?
So here's the thing. Ivica Zubac, the current international center on the Clippers, he needs to go. Move to Iceland. So they're bringing in Ariel Hukporti, who's an incredible rebounder. He's incredibly athletic, and he's got some tools. He's going to need some development. And I think that this is going to be, he's 7-footer, 250 pounds. I think he's going to be big for the Clippers.
All right, and Jacob, what can you tell us about another international center?
Yeah, Ariel, he hasn't been really playing basketball for that long, but he has shown a lot of great flashes. Like Garuba, he's a great rebounder, but unlike Garuba, he's actually able to shoot the rock. But what he really needs to improve on is IQ. He does commits a lot of dumb fouls. He has a lot of dumb turnovers, which a lot of teams aren't really put on about. But it's hard really finding he's very similar to Garuba, so I might just give him another Bismack Biyombo comparison.
All right, and now heading to the MVP's team, the Denver Nuggets. The pick is already in. Richard made the pick. With the 26th pick, the Denver Nuggets select Isaiah Jackson, power forward from Kentucky. Richard seems to want to explain. Go do that.
I was considering getting another scoring guard, but I think the Nuggets are a team that can afford to draft a guy like Isaiah Jackson, who I think his main selling point is his defense. And I think the Nuggets have enough scorers and playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, you have Jokic, you have Murray, you have Michael Porter Jr. And I think if they can get that defensive big set and locked, just ready to have at any moment, I think if you can have a guy that can focus on the defensive side of the ball while your big gets things done on offense, that'll be great. You could add another scoring weapon at the shooting guard if you're Denver, but I think it'll be very productive to draft a guy who, keep in mind, Isaiah Jackson is 19 years old and still has more room to grow as a player, and I think he's going to immediately make a defensive impact, and he can still grow as an offensive player as well.
All right, and we'll see now what Jacob has to say about the pick.
Yeah, I think Isaiah Jackson has a lot of potential to be an elite rim runner in this league. He also has a lot of potential to become an elite rim protector in this league. I really like him as a guy that can just, on the Nuggets, that can just check in. He could be that backup center that they really need. He's probably going to be better than JaVale McGee next year. A guy that's just going to come in and just I think he'll fit well with Jokic. My comparison for him is Nicholas Claxton and Robert Williams. They're both pretty athletic guys who are just amazing rim runners that both can get up, and they're both threats in the paint.
All right, now we head to Brooklyn's what seems like their only pick in the next 10 years. That pick is going to be made by Sky. Who's it going to be? All right, and with the 27th pick in the Phenom NBA mock draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Luka Garza, center from Iowa. Now the National Player of the Year. Sky, go into it.
Hear me out. Okay. First off, your commentary on the last pick. Steph Curry was the MVP of the league. We all know he got robbed. Anyways, if you're looking at the Brooklyn Nets right now, they don't have a true center outside of DeAndre Jordan. And any excuse to get DeAndre Jordan off of my roster, I am taking. He's the Shanghai Sharks' newest star. He should be moved on from. And you're adding a guy who can extend playmaking and scoring abilities with the Brooklyn Nets, who already score magnificently. So I like the pick there. DeAndre Jordan needs to go. His $10 million contract is absolute robbery.
All right, now we head to Jacob. I think I know how you feel about him, but you might as well talk about him.
I was really unexpecting this pick. I really don't think he's going to get drafted, period, just because there's so many concerns on the defensive end. Like, he's a really bad defender. Aside from shooting, like, there's really not that many strengths. I mean, obviously he was dominant in college, but I don't think he'll translate well from college to the NBA at all, just because he's pretty slow. But there are rumors that he had lost 20 pounds, which could eventually help him. But right now, my comparison for him is Frank Kaminsky. Both guys that dominated in college and just didn't pan out in the NBA.
All right, and now we move on from that pick to Philadelphia. Izzy, you're up. All right, and with the 28th pick, the Philadelphia 76ers select Josh Christopher, guard from Arizona State. This seems like he might have fallen a little bit, but Izzy, go into it.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's no secret that the Sixers need more shot creating and more scorers around Joel Embiid. They already have, a couple of pieces in place, but I really believe that Josh Christopher will take them over the top. He's a dynamic 3-level scorer. He has a great game off the dribble. I mean, probably one of the best in the class as well. He's not the best athlete in the world, but again, that's not really, a big negative. He can still get his shot off with ease. And this is a great pick for the Sixers, and he will add another element to their offense, which they need. And we saw it in the playoffs that they need more shot creating and they need more dynamic scorers outside of Joel Embiid.
All right, Jacob, if you want to piggyback off of that, go ahead.
Yeah, Izzy made a lot of great points about Josh Christopher. He's a guy that was really hyped up in high school. Him going to Arizona State was huge just because, and there's a lot of hype around Christopher going into Arizona State because the team was supposed to be really good. But they really didn't pan out. There's a lot of injuries with Josh Christopher. Like Izzy said, he's a great shot creator. He has a nice handle on the ball. I have a lot of questions on his defense, especially in transition. But I do think that Josh Christopher will be a good NBA player. A lot of NBA draft nerds really like him, including myself. And my comparison for him is a smarter version of Nick Young and a Nick Young version that can actually handle the ball.
All right, and now we go to Phoenix, the 29th pick. I'm probably going to butcher this name. With the 29th pick, the Phoenix Suns select Roko Prakcin, forward from Croatia. Zach, go into this pick.
After the pick of Jalen Smith for the Suns last year, who hasn't panned out so far, Precaution has the ability to come in and kind of be his replacement and do a little bit of everything as a forward. He's a big he's a big guy, 6'9", 210, who has the ability to shoot the ball and has the ability to just do a little bit of everything.
All right, and now we'll go to Jacob for some more on Roko.
Yeah, Roko is my favorite sleeper in the draft. I think that his scoring potential is it's really slept on. I think that he could be an amazing scorer in the league. I think he has all the tools to produce like a pretty close to 20 points per game. I think a lot of teams are sleeping on him. I'm concerned about his ball handling, though. I don't think it's that good yet. His defense has raised some concerns. My real comparison for him is Tobias Harris. They're both bigger forwards that can shoot the ball.
All right, and now we head into our final pick that will be made by Marcus with the Utah Jazz. Marcus, how are we going to end us off? All right, and with the 30th pick in the Phenom 2021 NBA mock draft, the Utah Jazz select Isaiah Todd, forward from the G League Ignite team. Now, Marcus, go ahead and explain our final pick.
He's a 6'10" floor spacer.
Fair enough. Now let's go to Jacob for more.
Yeah, Isaiah Todd was really hyped up, like Josh Christopher, when he went to Michigan and then decommitted. Sorry, Richard. I think that for the G League Ignite, he really wasn't like a main priority for them just because they had Kuminga, Green, Daishion Nix had a better season than Todd did. But I do think that Todd has a lot of potential as an NBA player. He's a very versatile wing. I think he can play small forward. I think he can even play center. He's a great shooter, but he really can't play inside at times. And also his IQ just doesn't look like it's all there. My comparison might be a little bit weird, but it's a guy from Syracuse, Chris McCullough. He didn't really pan out in the league. But I think Isaiah Todd could be a better version of him. Both bigger forwards that can shoot the ball, and we're questionable inside.
All right, and with that, the 2021 Phenom NBA mock draft is complete. Of course, we have all for myself, Jacob, Marcus, Sky, Richard, Izzy, and Zach. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more sports content.